Welcome, everyone. We are here live as promised. I know there was a mix-up in the time on YouTube, but it's a long story. It's been one of those days. You guys know. You guys have all had them. So here, let me get on Carl, and he can explain some more stuff, maybe.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? How you doing, Doug?
You said it.
Yeah.
I got to cut out the cocaine. That's all there is to it. So
that'll change your whole day, you know.
Yeah, Greg is watching this probably. Bob is, I know for sure. There's Bob on the thing now, and so hi, Bob. And so when Greg comes on, we're going to ask him about that. There's Bill's on also.
All right.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
How you guys doing? All right, let's not hold our guest up too much longer here. He's in the waiting room.
Yep.
And he is none other than Radio Retired himself, Dan.
There he is. Hi, Dan.
Hello, everybody.
So we were kind of laughing about the my hectic day. So
yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to Carl because I just feel like a lot better if he does.
Yeah, well, you know, and that's one of those things. Like I was saying earlier, my day started kind of crazy, and some days everything runs smooth, and then some days it doesn't run smooth at all. So, but we're here. We got Dan here. We're going to have some questions thrown at him, and then hopefully some of you guys out there in the chat will start asking some questions after we get rolling a bit, and you know, because that's first of all. We love having you here. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. And
well, thank you guys. I really appreciate the offer.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we're going to have a lot of fun today. And I wanted to start out because we were talking off camera, and you mentioned that you're a electrical engineer. You went to school for it, and you went from that and you came out and you became a software guy, which, you know, normally, you know, a lot of guys, electrical engineer, they go in, they're designing circuits and they're doing all this and that. And you went in and started writing software. I thought that was really interesting. And I thought I'd ask you about it and, you know, get your take on it. So,
okay. Yeah, I went to school here in northeastern Oklahoma. To a good school. I mean, Tulsa University was not a big school, but they had a good engineering school. And they were mostly known because in Oklahoma, oil and gas is king. And they were mostly known for petroleum engineering and chemical engineering, but they had all aspects of engineering and they had a good school there. So I went through electrical engineering. And when I graduated, like I said, the oil and gas industry, they were lined up to talk to everybody because they said, we don't care if you didn't major in petroleum engineering. If you've got an engineering degree, we'd like for you to work for us and we'll teach you everything you need to know. And I thought about that because that's a big industry here, but it's also very cyclical. And my dad worked his whole career in the oil and gas business. So I gave that some serious thought, but I didn't do it. The other side of that was that there was also another group of people lined up to talk to you when you graduated, and that was folks that needed software engineers. And they said, we're not seeing enough people coming out with computer sciences degrees. We need more folks. And if you've got an engineering degree, we'll teach you everything you need to know about writing software. Wow. And so that's the track that I took. So my first job was actually for the defense industry. I worked for General Dynamics in Fort Worth, Texas. And, you know, they were building the F-16 at the time.
Yes.
And so there was a lot of, on the avionics on that plane, there was a lot of software that ran all that stuff. So we worked on that business, and that business, because I learned about airplanes and aircraft, led to me coming back to my hometown here because we had a pretty good industry in aircraft simulation.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I worked a long time in aircraft simulation, which I really enjoyed because you got to learn a lot about whatever aircraft you were building the simulator for, whatever it happened to be. You learned a lot about that airplane.
Wow,
Those
yeah.
were also full flight simulators. So if your shift was midnight to 4 a.m., you go in and do your work, and then you could fly this thing. Or once you get your work done, you could fly this thing around for a few hours, for fun before you
Oh my goodness.
before the next shift. Now that business sort of, I don't know, it got thin in the early 90s, mid 90s, and I switched to IT. So still writing software, but then I worked for several different companies from there until I retired.
Wow. It's funny. You mentioned General Dynamics. This will sound familiar to you. I was stationed for 4 years at Carswell Air Force Base just on the other side.
You're right on the other side of the street.
Yeah, we shared the same runway and stuff and that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
and that was back in the 70s, but that was a big SAC base, and
Yeah.
so but that was a busy place over at General Dynamics. I can tell you. I know you guys were kicking them out.
It was, and an enormous hangar there where they built those planes, and we weren't really supposed to be down there what I was doing, but sometimes we'd go down there and watch, as they were putting these things together, or if they were flying them around using the runway there at Carswell, we'd go sneak outside and watch them fly around a little bit. So that was a good time.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'll throw this in real quick. They were, like you said, they were building the F-16s. Well, I left Carswell. I went overseas to Korea, and I went to a base where they had the F-4s, and they were phasing them out. And what happened was, when I left Carswell, I watched the F-16s take off to go get painted. When I went to Korea, the same planes came in with the colors of our base, and that was kind of weird. But those are excellent planes. My God. Okay. I didn't want to get off track. It's just that when you mentioned that, it's kind of
interesting.
Funny.
Small world.
Yeah, it really is. So, okay. So, now you're, flash forward to what you're doing now and you retired and stuff. What made you decide to start doing old radios? That's, doing software is one thing, and even being an electrical engineer, you had some training and stuff there about circuits, but I think a lot of those guys are, working on PCs and chips and all that stuff, and you're putting together Zeniths with tubes. I thought that, it's pretty cool. How'd that transaction go from there?
Well, I think you'd have to go quite a ways back. When I was a kid, I think both my mom and dad sort of realized kind of the way I leaned towards things that were, I don't know if it's more technical or things that were, I had a sense of, I would always want to take things apart, see what made them work. And so mom and dad recognized something in that. And when I was in the 9th grade, my dad signed me up. Both of us went to a school to get our ham radio license.
Cool. Yep.
Which was a novice. I don't think they have novice anymore, but so he and I went through and got our novice class license. And then a year later, we went through another class and got our general class license. And I really liked electronics then as a kid in high school, junior high and high school.
Right.
And that never really went away. And then somehow that combined with my family was a big, both sides of the family were big groups of collectors. They loved to collect stuff, so, and my grandmother ran an antique shop in this town for 40 years. And when she couldn't do it anymore, my mom took over and did it till she couldn't do it anymore. So my house is full of antiques, furniture and that sort of thing. And so I was surrounded by that and always had this appreciation for things that were older. I saw value. Most people, oh, that's old. I don't want that sold. But that was not part of our family. So here's this kind of intersection between radios, which are every bit, I think, as valid an antique item as anything else you see in an antique store, and electronics. So I'm just like, wow, okay, this is a natural for me.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, okay, so that does make sense, and that's where the old kind of slipped in on you, and that's pretty cool. Gotta ask you, you ever being a electrical engineer, do you ever listen to like Dave Jones is on EVV blog? Do you ever check them out? I mean, because those guys they're always talking to electrical engineer stuff. I was curious. Do you ever?
No, I haven't. I'll have to check that out.
Oh yeah, I mean, you might get a kick out of it. It's called the EEV blog, and
okay.
he's an Australian guy, but he does a lot of electronics, and I didn't. You might have watched it, but check it out. I think you'll like it.
Okay.
Now I hear that you may have a couple other interests other than radios, and I think Doug's going to cover a little bit of that. And because I'm interested, I want to hear this too. So, Doug, take it away, my friend.
Thanks, Carl. I want to address this first. Jim Newman had a little bit of comment there. Can you see that, Dan?
Yes.
And I didn't know what you thought of it.
Yeah. I didn't. Okay, Halliburton, Fort Worth. That might have been in that same general area. I don't know that much about what Halliburton was doing at that time. Maybe he can comment on what sort of things were going on.
Yeah. During
that era. But of course, there was a lot of high-tech stuff going on in Dallas, Fort Worth when I was down there. It was a long time ago, but.
All right. Well, let's jump on over to the vehicles. You sent me a picture of a BMW, which I with my hectic day, I forgot to put over on this computer. I'm back in the shop, if you can't tell. I was back here. Greg is on here. Greg will testify. I was on with him for a while this afternoon. We were discussing a project here on the bench that I'm working on, as well as 3D printers in general. But as far as the BMW, what's the deal with that?
Well, if I was a wealthy guy, what I would do would be collect cars.
Wouldn't we all?
But I bought a BMW a long time ago. It was sort of a dealer. What do they call that when they let people drive around for a while and finally get so many miles of? Yeah. And that was a great car. I got it at a good price, and I was really sold on the brand. So I had a chance to buy this particular car that I sent you a picture of. So it's a 1984 6 Series BMW, and kind of a really nice car, a nice era there for BMW, and that's really a nice car. And this car had been stored away for years when I bought it. They had it sort of up and running when I bought it, and I drove it for a while and had some problems with it. I parked it. It was in storage for a long time. I got it out this past fall. We did a lot of work on it and got it running, and I ran it and it drove great. I ran it until wintertime when it's been put back in its bed for a little while. It'll come out another month or two as it warms up here.
I got a Buick the same way.
Yeah.
I don't get to it much anymore, but I enjoyed working on it when I did work on it. So
yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting thing, because several people that are in electronics are also into old cars, and I just always kind of like the idea that they kind of go hand in hand, because it's a hands type thing where you've got to work with your hands and stuff like that, and I think it's cool.
Yeah.
But
so anyway, that'll keep me busy. That thing, it's like I said, it's running good now, but it'll keep me busy with other problems for. I wouldn't surprise me if it's a couple of years before it's completely what I want, which I don't care if it takes that long.
You probably won't be happy with it then either.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's see. I think we have another question here.
What engine is it? It is a straight 6. And it is a 3.3. The 633 is a 3.3 liter. They also made a 635 at the time, which is a 3.5 liter, minus the 3.3.
Now I noticed that Greg said Beamer, Bemer. Now I did some checking on that. There's 3 different ways that can be spelled: Bea, I think, Mer, and then there's one that's Bimmer.
Right.
Technically, I think the cars are referred to as Bimmer. Is that correct?
Well, I think if you want to be absolutely technically correct, that's the way that is true. But most people are going to say, "Oh, it's a Beamer." It's
Yeah,
like, okay.
right. Yeah, I understand that. That's what I did. I got to thinking when I did that, I thought, I wonder how it's spelled. And I just did a Google on that, and that's when I found out that. And I thought, well, I'd never heard that. But the motorcycles are a big part of BMW as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let's not let the German people get upset now.
Oh, that's great. So that's going on. Anything else you got going on as far as special? I know you're a collector. You said that, but you collect other things besides radios, right?
I do. I collect daguerreotypes. If you know what that is, it was the first form of photography that was done on silver plates. Started in 1840 and ended about 1865 or so.
Well, the old Go didn't know about that. He was probably around back then.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I didn't say that.
I also know that there's something you might want to say to the old goat. So let you do that if you want to.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when I neared retirement, I had through the years collected these radios and had a whole lot more than I realized I did until I started looking around. And so nearing retirement, I thought, well, I need to know how to work on these things. So I said, one of the things, I could go buy a bunch of books, and I did buy a book, but I'm going to watch YouTube videos of guys like you all who work on these things and just see how you get started and how you work on these things, how you try to figure out how you debug what might be wrong. And one of the first videos that I stumbled across was old 64 Goat talking about isolation transformers and how they, depending on how they were wired up internally, they may not be as safe as you think they are. And he did a little drawing. I think he actually showed some changes he made to one that he owned. And from that, I watched a couple of the other electronics things that he did and, flapping videos. And
he's the king.
Yeah.
And then part 2 of that story is, I think that he was, I don't know if he traded or he was given some things by somebody that he didn't need everything that he got. One of those things was a frequency counter. And I have a very small space here. This is it. My bench is what you see behind me. There's no more space. And he offered to give that thing away. And I think nobody picked it up the first time around, if I remember right. And he said in the next video, oh, nobody's offered to take that. And I offered to take it. And it's been a big help to me because to align, when I try to align something, now I know exactly, what the frequency is when I'm setting it to. And it's been a big help. So I appreciated that greatly. He didn't ask me to pay for it. I just paid for the shipping. So, I really appreciate that. And I think I told you guys when I talked to you before that was a nice gesture. And someday when I break down my bench, I won't make somebody else buy that either. I'll give that away to somebody who's just starting out.
Yeah, Bill is a very generous man. And he's, not only in his knowledge that he, and his humor, but yeah, if he has something and he's like us, he doesn't have deep pockets and stuff, but he's very generous with stuff.
Absolutely. I wanted to mention Buddy here. He just popped up there on the chat, and he's coming up on this not too long, I'm hoping. We got to reach out to him again because I think I lost his email. Hey, how you doing this evening, buddy? I'm glad you could join us for a minute or two. All right. Bill is the man, as Greg just said there. I'll push that too.
Yeah.
So basically, want to know something about the things you're working on now. I know you've done a few radios and things and got those under your belt. What's your next project?
Well, I'm not really sure. I kind of went and looked at the pile, and I'm not really sure which things. Yeah, it's amazing what's underneath towels and stuff in closets and that sort of thing. So I'm not really sure which the next thing I'm going to work on. I had another little plastic RCA radio, which was pretty cool, and that should be pretty easy to fix. And I have a couple of radios that are older that I'd like to get to that are TRF radios. Is that right? Yeah, and
those are neat.
They look fantastic. I'd love to see them work. They look really neat. I have a Detrola I love the way it looks, but it's been worked on, and it's a TRF radio. And so I don't know whether I've actually tried to start on that radio and failed. So I might go back to that one, but I may do something. I may do one more easier radio, but I'm not sure which one. I'm not sure which one I'm going to pick.
Cool.
Exactly.
I gotta mention, I was going through your videos and that, and I seen that that 48 Philco flying wedge.
Yes.
We talked about how radios then had character, they looked good, they had appeal. Nowadays, and you had mentioned that we got these, everything's on the phone, and
Right.
but looking at that Philco, that is it's a unique radio. That's a really nice radio that you got there, that the flying wedge. I wanted to mention that, and maybe somebody will go out and go look at your channel and go check that out. But
Okay.
that's a cool one. Yeah, and you got some nice radios, but that one I really like that one.
Okay, thank you. That was I enjoyed working on that one, and it cleaned up really good.
Yeah,
and it performs really good. It's really sensitive. It has plenty of volume. The sound's great. So I'm just like, well, okay, Dan, you did all right on that one. So
cool. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. One of the things that I talked about in sort of my first video was that we all have these, and we all use them, and it's what it is the thing we have to communicate today.
They all look alike too.
That was my point, is that if you put them 10, 15 feet away from you, they all look the same. But these radios don't. People who were true designers were able to just, it was whatever they could think of up here, they could do within reason. And they all look so different. And that's kind of nice, where today we have, well, I don't know, this is it. Maybe I can get a bigger screen, or maybe I can get an extra camera, but the design is basically the same. And so that's one of the, I think, really neat things about these old things, is that somebody actually sit down with a blank piece of paper and design these things.
Yeah. And thank goodness our whole community is, trying our best to keep them living too. That's because they're not making them anymore. So
they're not. That's right. And what we do is, I guess, we can pat ourselves on the back. These things, like I said, I don't think they get the love really that they deserve right now in relationship to other antiques. But if enough of us are doing this, maybe there'll be some that'll survive another 50, 60, 80, 100 years. Yeah. And then they'll say, wow, I can't, I'm so glad this thing has survived, another 100 years. So we won't be here to enjoy that, that they become super duper collectibles, but at least we had a piece of it.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly. You got that right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Bill had said something here about the radios had class. Yes, they did, Bill. They really had a lot of class. So that's a big point there.
Yep. Yep, sure is. Yeah.
I see what Don had something here to say, I think. Can you guys read that?
Have you considered building any applications for smartphones that back our hobby? No, would that be something to put in the back of the brain and let it sort of stew around back there and see what would be helpful?
All right. I have that droid. I think it's Electro Droid or something like that. It has all the values of the capacitors, things like that on it, and that's handy. I think Bob was the one that pointed me out that little app. I think, was that right, Bob? Are you still here? I think that's the way it was. But you guys have been great this evening. I wanted to ask Dan if he had anything else he'd like to talk about. If you do.
I can't think of anything at the moment. I'm just, I'm honored you guys would, as the newbie kind of person. I don't have that many videos up, so I appreciate you asking me to come on. I really do.
Well, we've really enjoyed having you here. I mean,
Right.
I think we've had a good show.
Right. Yeah, very good. Every one of these have been getting,
Oh.
I think, better and better. I mean,
Yep. Yeah, this is
yeah, so
it's really working, getting to know everybody,
I kind of want to steer some people a certain way, and because we're trying to get different people on here, we may even get out of the electronics field a little bit. But for now, if you guys could check out a guy, I'll put this in the description after the video is up. Yeah, Electro Droid is a great app. That's what it is. Like I say, I'll go ahead and put that up there. But like, there's a guy out in California. He kind of works. He's a volunteer at the museum out there, and he does a lot of restorations. Called Mr. Radio. That's his channel name. Now I think Radio Rama is the one he goes by on his titles, for all his videos. If you guys could kind of check him out, I mentioned Buddy's coming up, the radio shop, and we're going to try to get as many of these people on here as we can. We've got feelers out to other people that are maybe up there a little bit higher level than maybe they don't feel like we've got the cloud here that or whatever. But like I say, we're trying our best to get some other people here and do this. Dan, we really, really appreciate you being on here.
Yep.
And
it's been my pleasure.
Well, like I say, it's just every time we find somebody like you, we try to get them on here and get you some more subs, and if we can at all. And I'm sure this will result in a few for you, and I'm happy about that. Carl, you have any parting thoughts?
I'm just another show that I think went very, very well. Great information. Everybody got to meet Dan, and hey, hope you can take a time and go and check out his channel and look at some of his stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, right.
We were really, we thought, wow, we'd like to get this guy on here, and
right.
That worked out good,
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's going to do us for this evening. Nobody's got anything else to ask or anything like that. Nobody in the chat. Everybody wants to, say it's a pleasure to meet you. And I agree. Real pleasure. And like I say, we are happy that you joined us for this little event.
Yes,
very.
And thank you guys.
So we will get off here and get on with our hectic days, as I was talking about. We've got some weather coming up here. I think everybody, even Dan down there in Oklahoma, has.
We're going to get it first, and then it's going to come up your way. We'll be glad to see this get out of here.
We were talking about that. I said, yeah, I think your weather comes up to us or to me here and Carl, and then it goes over to Bob, and then Bill gets it.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of shares in that stuff. That's just right. Well, like I say, that's great. Pat just said he watched the RCA Victor radio today. Turned out great, Dan. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been good. Like I say, you guys have all been very nice in the chat, and I appreciate you guys being there and asking questions and making comments. That's what this show is all about. And like I said, we will try to get you a new one next week. And I don't know that it'll be Buddy, but it'll be somebody. We'll try. So
yeah, we will try.
Hopefully I'll get the restream thing figured out. You have to set that preview up at least an hour before you go live. And I tried to make it in a half hour, and that didn't work. So I'll get better. I'll get better on that, I promise. So you guys, go ahead.
I was going to say it came out great.
Yeah, it worked out fine. Everybody joined us. That was great. 13 people right now. So that's great. You guys all have a great evening. And like I say, stay warm, stay dry.
Yeah.
And we will see you all next time.
Everybody take care. Good seeing you.
Thank you.